Welcome to the Pro Design Builder podcast, a show where professionals and entrepreneurs share their stories, strategies, and secrets to building a thriving business and a successful life. I'm Sam, your host, as we dive deep into the world of life experiences and entrepreneurship. Before we get going, just like to thank our sponsor, the Pro Design Builder, which is a coaching and consulting firm for real estate investors that want to build new construction projects, spec homes, etc. The Pro Design Builder, it's not just about building a business, it's about building a life by design and building a vision. Also, I want to thank our sponsor, the Tampa Nest Collab, which is a real estate incubator for real estate investors. We have several different areas where we specialize in creative finance, short sales, and spec home building. So if you wanted to grow in a network in a community, you would do it at the Nest Collab. Um, as you know, foster care is a mission that's near and dear to my heart. I've had 5 kids through our home. I've adopted 2 kids. I'm currently fostering one, and the mission is never over in foster care. All right, so if you ever feel led to give, there'll be a link in the Patreon. Feel free to give there. You know, some of the initiatives that we support is buying beds for foster and adoptive kids. Also providing a meal for an additional meal that month for a foster family as the cook in the house. There's a lot that has to happen for you to execute on a meal, and sometimes taking that day off is well worth it. And then also too want to support a strong family structure. So getting families an additional date night is something that we support. There's nothing like having a strong family unit, and the stronger the marriage, the stronger the union, the better the outcome for the child. So those are the things that supports. And without further ado, I just wanted to introduce my guest today, Rob Sims, which is a entrepreneur, father, foodie, retired NFL vet, played for the Ohio State Buckeyes, which just won the national championship, and also played for the Seahawks and the Detroit Lions. So, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Glad to be on. Glad to be on.
So, yeah, just if you don't mind, just share a little bit about yourself, for the people that don't know you.
Yeah, name's Rob Sims. Like I said before, I had the honor of playing at Ohio State. That just won a national championship. I actually won the national championship back in 2002 with my team. I was a true freshman that actually got to start in that game. So one of the crowning achievements in my life to be able to be on the field and actually win it at such a young age. I think I was 19 years old. And then, to follow that up with, a solid college career, became captain in 2005 and drafted in 2006 the Seattle Seahawks, traded to Detroit 2010, and thought I'd be in Detroit for 6 months, and I've been here for 14 years. And I've been able to now my wife, Natalie, bring her into Michigan all the way from Miami. So I was able to convert a Miami girl into a Midwest girl. And we've raised our 3 beautiful children, Michaela, Robert, and Zanai, all here in Michigan. So Michigan, especially Detroit, has been good to us. And, we've been able to, have a professional career here, but, go into and do some entrepreneurial type things. And it's been a great ride. It's been a great ride. And, now going into my 40s, just continuing to work on continue to build our legacy, man. That's what we're all about.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. There's so I'll tell you how I met Rob. We were paired up on this. We were in Cabo, and we were paired up on this golf trip, and so we got paired up together, and then we just connected on so many different things. He's super foodie, loves to cook. I'm the primary cook there. Big family guy, big family guy, entrepreneur. So many things was very relatable. And then when I met his wife, and then I met his family, what stood out to me was, um, they called the kids. Kids came down. Everybody kind of lined up. Everybody introduced themselves. His son, he grabbed my bags, and I'm just like, he is cut from a different cloth, right? I just
Yeah.
love the family structure, the family element that that I saw from you. So definitely felt very, very great, very strong about this relationship that I made with you.
Yeah, no, it was great, man. It's great. Your beautiful family too, man. To see you guys grow, it's been awesome, man. It's been awesome
Yeah,
to see.
yeah, for sure. So one of the things that we like to do is we like to start at the beginning, and ask you, what were you like as a kid, and were there early signs of your path?
Definitely, man. I look back on that, and everybody doesn't know, but my father was a Cleveland Brown, played for the Browns back in the late '70s. My mother was a college professor. My father, after he was done playing, he was actually in law enforcement, worked for the Metro Park system in Cleveland. If you know Cleveland, you know the Cleveland Metro Parks is big park chain there, and yeah, I always had this figure that I was following, which being my dad and what he had done in his past in football and athletics. But I just, I had that mom that was on me about my grades and was on I remember her telling me I'm trying to build a man. I remember her saying like, taking me when I wasn't even young enough to the working age to a grocery store, like trying to convince the man that I was big enough to work. And and I think before I made the NFL, I had 11 jobs, man, because she was just that push that I always had, and yeah, that just it always propelled me. And wherever I went, I was able to get on the field, early and often, and play to a certain level. And really, really not being around football because my dad kind of had closed that chapter, but just being around what was possible, right? And meeting friends that were his and realizing these are just humans, right? And not people that needed to be feared or something you couldn't accomplish. And I had a great support system growing up. So kudos to them for putting me in place, man. It's on them and my God for putting me in place. And I've just kind of been being the vessel, man.
Yeah, yeah, amen to that, in so many regards, and obviously having a strong family structure has kind of helped you, grow into the man that you are today, right? So and the thing I wrote down is, she says she's trying to build a man, right? That was something that was very important, and it sticks out. Just the way I see you, actively, serving your family, each and every day, making sure that they're nice and fed, right?
Babies
That's
gotta eat. They gotta
yeah,
eat.
baby's gotta baby's gotta eat. His
Yeah,
guests eat good over there. So
for sure.
yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So um what would you say who would you say was your biggest influence growing up?
I think it was my dad. I think just watching him go from um, a guy that didn't make it in the league the way he wanted to finding his footing with another career to really building on his faith. And my dad was just a guy, he was loved. That was the one thing about it. People loved him. Like we feed people at our house, man. It was you needed a plate, you come by Mr. Sims's house. He was always on the grill, he was always cooking, he was always doing something. And he was, he was a 6'8", 400-pound man, man. He was a big teddy bear, you know what I mean? And everybody loved him, man. So, I vividly remember his funeral, there being, had to be, to me, it felt like 1,000+ people in this church that we were filling up. And it was just like, wow, like if this is the story, like in the end of the day, I want to make these impacts on people. There were Hall of Fame linebackers, Harry Carson, I remember New York Giants standing up at his funeral. I had never met him before, but, just being like, people being like, Rob, you know who that is? And, he's at my dad's funeral, right? Showing representation. So I think him, man, he was larger than life, like, for real, because he was huge. And, he was larger than life in the way he affected people. And that's always what I've wanted to do, is just
Yep.
affect people.
No, for sure. And I think about my relationship with my dad. My dad was a short, small guy. Right. But he was literally everywhere, in regards of just serving, not just his family, his community. And obviously you know my story that, we come from Haiti and stuff like that, but he'll be serving people back there. Right. And I just remember one time I had said to my dad, I think someone made a request for some money or something like that, and my dad, he didn't even have it, but he went and made a way and sent it. I was just like, and I said something to him like, why are you doing that? And he goes, well, if I don't do it, it ain't gonna happen, or they might die or something like that, right? And I was kind of like, is it that serious over there? He's like, yeah, it's that serious. But it's these small things, these small gestures of serving that we peel back later on, that we kind of equip ourselves with inside of our families, which is would you say that it's do you see that all around you, or would you say that's something that you really don't see that much?
You mean as far as
Men serving their families the way that you do.
yeah, I mean, I think to me it's rare. It's getting more rare. I think now the people in my circle or the people that I know or gravitate to, like yourself, I see those folks making efforts to be the best leader they can be for that house. And but I see a lot of others, man. I see a lot of others that are just lost on that and don't really see the value in that, right? And don't see like when you're the last person to eat, you know what I mean? And being not okay with that, but being happy about that that's not for everybody. And that's something that you have to grow into, just as selfish people, right? You don't start out like that. You may have those qualities, but that's something you got to develop. And I don't see that many guys doing it. There are a handful of good men out here that are trying to do the right thing and have been taught the right way, like I believe you have and I have. And are not only just doing that, but trying to improve on that. And it's I wish more guys would see it because it's a blessing.
No, no, for sure, for sure, for sure. I would say it's kind of split. All of the men that I know, um, definitely the men in the Bible study, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure, have
Mm,
this serving mentality, and and especially if you don't, you get it from me. As far as
for sure.
you better be serving, you better be serving, because this is what it looks like, right? So I do see that a good part, and I do see, if you came from a home that your father wasn't present, I see these guys too, really stepping in because of that relationship that was in lack. But I definitely think there's definitely an opportunity for guys to grow in this particular area. So
For sure.
was yeah was there a defining moment for you, as a child, that you feel like shaped you? Or
Man, I always, I felt like it was weird. I felt like my childhood in the league and stuff was all like in fast forward mode, right? Where I don't remember like a moment in my childhood. I definitely remember getting to, um, I remember being drafted, or, I thought I was going to go the first day of the draft, right? I thought I'd be a second rounder, maybe a third rounder at best. And so we had a big party at my mom's house and my dad's house. And uh, I had my family there, and I didn't get picked. And I remember just being like so devastated that that didn't happen, right? And I remember my dad. It's one of the last things he ever said to me. He was like, "Rob, God's got a plan. Don't worry about this. It's gonna work out in your favor." He was like, dry your eyes, and hey, we're gonna go to church in the morning. And lo and behold, I got in church and got the call, right? So I feel like that was one of those defining moments where I didn't see anything in front of me. That devastation had happened, and and at the time I thought it was the worst thing in the world. And then being able to just go through that, and losing my father literally a month after that, right? That was a defining moment in my life where he wasn't going to get to watch me play and see my career. And he was one of those, one of the last things he said to me was, so it was something that I've just held on to for so long because of that. Right. So I would say that's my biggest defining moment. Everything in my youth, man, I don't, I feel like I was going so fast, man. I looked up, it's like, the game chose me. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. Exactly. They just kind of just fell into place. Yeah, fell into place for you. So, and so you lost your dad like 1 month after getting drafted, but describe that relationship, with your father, if you don't mind.
I mean, he was everything, man. He was, he's sensei, that's the teacher, right? Taught me how to do everything, right? How to barbecue, right? How to, tie my shoe, how to do
Yeah,
everything, right?
yeah,
He's
yeah, yeah,
Miyagi. That's Miyagi, right? So,
yeah.
so when you're going into the
For
new,
sure.
when you're going into a new, you're just going into a new chapter of your life,
Yeah,
and you got somebody who has been there and who is going to give you a leg up with his experience there, right? And because he had been that for you all the way through. He was the person that you modeled yourself after, everything. So when you lose him in that vital time, man, it was I was lost, to be honest with you. I was super lost. On top of that, I was moving to Seattle. My mom and sister at the time were in Cleveland, so I felt like we were worlds away from each other, and just kind of all trying to pick up the pieces together while trying to perform, and do something you waited your whole life to do. So that relationship was a great relationship with him. It turned into friends there towards the end. Was glad I was able to show him those Ohio State years because he really got to see me blossom. And I mean, he had a lot of joy in those last 4 years, and I'm glad I got to give it to him.
yeah, that's amazing. I just remember my relationship with my dad. My dad was a guy of not a lot of words, but a lot of service. That was his like love language, right? He ain't gonna tell you that he love you, but he's gonna take that laundry. He's gonna bam 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 bam. He's gonna do everything you need him to pick you up. Boom, he's there. You know what I'm saying? So that relationship is so important, and I think it translates to what I see from you and your parenting style and your presence. Just being there is more important than half of the things, right?
Hmm.
So thank you for for sharing that. So all right, so you get drafted, right, and you go to the Seahawks, right?
Yep.
And what does your first year in the league look like for you?
Super chaotic. Like I said, trying to pick up the pieces of my father's passing, right? So that, he passed away in June. So now we're here in late July, August. Really didn't have much time to grieve right into the season. Was not picking up the playbook very well. Was replacing Steve Hutchinson, who was a Hall of Famer. So here I'm coming, getting an opportunity as a young guy to play because the starter in front of me, Floyd Womack, was a little banged up, injured. I'm getting to playing next to one of the greatest tackles ever, Walter Jones, and I'm replacing one of the best guards to ever play after they had a Super Bowl run, right? So, and I couldn't figure out the playbook, so I had all that stuff swirling around. Still ended up playing 5 or 6 games.
Yep.
Made it through, and I would say the years after that, I was hit with some injury bugs. Hit the ground running my fourth year, and Pete Carroll got the job, and they shipped me off to Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how that went.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. What would you say? What were some lessons that you learned? Because through every challenge, there's lessons that you pick up. What would you say were the lessons that you picked up from that first experience?
I think one of the things is, and I probably don't give him enough credit for this, but I remember coming back in my first couple of days being at practice. I remember Mike Holmgren walking up to me and like hitting me on my shoulder pad, being like, "Oh, Rob, hey man, welcome back. Hope you have a good camp." Nothing about my dad. Nothing. It wasn't no feel sorry for me. It wasn't no, hey
Yep.
man, give you a hug. I wasn't in that arena. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
wasn't a kid. I wasn't a kid no more. It was time to be a pro.
Yeah.
And he rode me hard. Did not like when rookies played.
Yep.
And I had to play. And like I said, I was still struggling with the playbook. You know what I mean? I wasn't focused. You know what I mean? I was out every night just trying to understand what was next. Right.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And but he rolled me hard. And at the end of the year, I remember coming in his office and he was like, Rob, what was I supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That was, he turned me into a pro. I understood this is a man's game. And nobody's going to be here to coddle me no matter what I have going on. And,
Yeah.
that strengthened me and gave me callous, and it gave me an opportunity to play for the next 9 years, mentally and physically.
Yeah. Okay, that's great, man. That's great. Lessons learned. There's always something to pick up through a challenging time, and one of the things that I talk about too is this mental health aspect of it's in adults, but it's actually for me, because I deal with kids in the foster care system, and that mental health aspect carries later into traumas and behaviors and stuff like that. So I focus a lot on understanding what is the original why these certain things happen, and then also once you have that, dialing it up, the recipe, which is always a lot of love, right? but also hard work, So I feel like I just wanted to just throw that out there. So, all right, so they ship you off to the Detroit Lions, right? So this is like a new start, or new fresh start for you. What does that look like for you?
I thought this is where players come to die. They just came off a 0-16 and a 2-14 season, and I couldn't believe that I was at a place like Seattle, and my attitude that I had fell. Ended up in a place where, this was, I was going to get a couple years here and that'd kind of be it, or I was going to be here for 6 months and try to get to another team. They were trying to find themselves. So I came in and I was actually rotating with the threes, and I had been a starter for 2 years, and I didn't get it. I knew I was capable, but once again, Jim Schwartz, right? That's another one of those motivating things he put in me. Like, you're right, no matter what you've done, you got to go earn it here.
Correct.
And went and earned the job, and realized that we had some really special people around us, people that are lifelong friends, business partners, and was able to really build something here that was special. Got to 2 playoff berths here when I was playing in 5 years, and started 80 straight games. Right, as offensive lineman, we won't get too many stats, but I got that one. I was here, and the 10 years before me, there were 16 guards that had played that position.
Oh wow!
And when I heard that stat when I first got here, I said, "That's it. They're gonna have some longevity with me," and I stuck to that. And like I said, I'm proud of that. 80 straight.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that kind of tells me a little bit about the level of focus and how dialed in you got after that first few years and those challenges. And this kind of brings me to to a thought about the focus that's needed and required for entrepreneurship. I feel like this was your the start in your consistency and the hard work that has now kind of propelled you into the business world. Do you feel like there was before I jump there, do you feel like there is a translation from the work that you had to do once you got to Detroit and then now, like, what you're doing in the business world?
Oh, for sure. They have there's so many similarities to what we're bringing, and as we're getting better, I see more and more every day. Right. And I would say this, a lot of times in business, and especially our business, right, we expect that team member that comes on the team to be ready to go. Right. Just like we expect a team member in football. You're getting that person in, they should be ready to go. The truth of the matter is, in both of those situations, what both of those people need is coaching. And they need to be, whatever they're trying to do, they need to have reps at it. There were so many times early in the business where we put plans together and just put it out to the team, and wonder why it didn't come back the way we put it on paper. But that's because we used to get the playbook in the beginning of the week. We would have to go out and rep it to get the playbook right. You know what I mean? We started to bring that into the business where I'm like, no, we got to meet a little bit more. No, we got to have a little bit more focus here. Nope, I want you in here every single week going over this until we get it right. Right? That's what has propelled our business and put us in place to continue to win. And that's that's something I learned from the league.
Yep. I think just to use football as an analogy, I think when you are on the offensive side of the ball, it's a very different game than when you're on the defense, right? It's literally coordination, harmony, execution, small details, and reps, right? So that's kind of how I equate, playing on the offensive side, and it's just and it's nuanced, right? And in the details where, hey, I want to isolate this one guy, right, and I want him to make the tackle, right, and then all 11 need to kind of execute to kind of make that happen. And you need to rep it, and then this particular flow will happen on the play. And if you haven't played on the offensive side of the ball, this probably won't make as much sense to you, but it makes so much sense in business, right? When you're looking at, like you said, you put it down on paper and you send it out to the team, and then it's like, why is this execution not happening, right? But you realize we need the reps for it to look this way, and then once you get the reps and the consistency, and then the execution will follow. So there's a big correlation between execution in football and things that happen in business. So. All right. So you're there for 9 years. You played 80 straight games. All right. There's this challenge that happens, once the game is over, right? Because everything leading up to it led up to this dream, this vision, and football. What was that transition like for you when you were done with the game?
Man, I tell you, and I tell people all the time, I feel like I'm still transitioning.
Yep.
Right? I'm 10 years out the league, and I feel like the transition is not finished. I think, that is such a big goal, and you put everything into being your true self, being that.
Yep.
But when it's over, then it's about, oh my goodness, I got to rebuild myself. And most people think they can just go like this into this new rebuild. Saying I'm on the same level. Yeah. Truthfully, you got to go start at the bottom again.
You do.
Go earn it, right, and get it back up to that level. So that's the one thing I see that guys they mess. They lose focus on is they think they can just hop out here and be here. I can go CEO over here and know what I'm doing.
Correct.
That's our. So I think and all that to say, and while my transition, I feel like I'm still doing it. This is like anything else. I got to go put my 10,000 hours in here too.
Correct.
If this is going to be my craft, crafts take a long time to develop.
Correct.
And just like they did in the league, right? I didn't do that over those 80 straight games. I did it over those 20 years.
20 years before you got to the 80. Yeah, exactly.
I got to the 80 where I was a real professional. So I think that's where that's where the transition was difficult. I started off doing small things, right? Not small, but I was buying real estate around our facility and renting into my teammates.
Yep.
Under LLC they didn't know about, right? And it was funny to hear them complaining about the heat or something like that.
He's like, they complaining about me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Rookies and stuff. So we had a good time with that. I had a great time with that, but that transitioned into being part of the Remax brand here in Southeastern Michigan. That turned into a title company, turned into a mortgage play that we then sold most of that package. And then Detroit real estate was hot. So I started to invest in Detroit real estate, brought in some of my teammates on those investments, and, then really understood like, oh, players can function in entrepreneurship similar to how they function in football, right? It's the same thing. Is wins, is losses, is reps to get better, right? That's what it is, right? It's real conversation and it's transparency, right? And that's what we've been able to do, and that's what me and Calvin have been able to do as of late.
No, for sure. Everything you described sounds like the exact process of a entrepreneur, right? Did you know you wanted to get into business right away? Obviously, you had some real estate plays very early on, right? But did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, and you asked me earlier about like who my hero,
Yep.
was growing up.
Hmm.
I would say, one B or one A or one B, however you look at it, would be my uncle Harvey Clay. He actually played ball at Wisconsin, and he actually owned car dealerships. So I would grow up. He was always the guy in the family with the cash, right? Because he had the car dealership. So I would always be around him, trying to shadow him in college, trying to understand. And I wanted to set my life up like he had his set up at the time.
Hmm.
And so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I thought he was a Ford dealer. I thought when I came to Detroit Lions, I was like, oh my goodness, my dreams, my prayers are answered, right? I'm working for the Fords. You know what I mean? They'll give me a dealership. Um, but as you go a little farther, you realize when they play you the block, they want you to
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
block. And but that was always a dream, and I would be an entrepreneur. And like you said, real estate caught my eye when I was here, and I haven't really looked back.
No, that's great. I remember falling in love with real estate myself. It was a situation where my wife was going to med school, and she decided that she wrote me a letter and said, I don't want to go. I don't see us having a family structure that we talked about, and stuff like that. School was going to be long. She was going to be over there in the islands. We need to look at something. And she was like, let's look into real estate. And then that's kind of how I went to my first seminar. And then after that, it allowed us to start wholesaling, which helped me pay for my wedding. Then after that, allowed me to start flipping properties and stuff like that. And that was definitely something that has always kind of been in my blood. But kind of how you describe is you have to start at a certain level and then work your way back up. And it's been a lot of reps in understanding everything that goes into putting a organization together, and you've had to do that now for a new brand that a new company that you guys are running, you and Calvin Johnson. But tell me a little bit about that journey. There's some nuggets I had picked up from you in sharing that story when I was out to Michigan. But tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, like I said, we were doing real estate and had a couple of great opportunities in real estate, and cannabis real estate really came and got hot. And we were looking for properties. We actually found a group that had 10 licenses, city approvals, and we made a deal with them really on the real estate. But we also had some creative control on just the business in general, right? This was new for everybody. And as we kept pulling back the onion, we realized like, wait a minute, this is manufacturing. Let's look into that. Let's look into this retail. Let's look into all these things really to build a vertically integrated business. That was the goal in the beginning, and that's what we've been able to do over the past 8 years. Right, so we've been through storm after storm after storm. Imagine a startup business in a startup industry, and you're a startup entrepreneur, right? So all these things we've had to learn over the past 8 years. But I tell you, and what I was saying earlier about players, right? We have been so resilient and have overcome so much stuff that the new challenges that come up are just that. They're just a challenge, right? And they're not the end of the road. They're not any of that. It is just something for us to adjust and figure out, okay, what's this next piece? And I think that's when you really get when you really get yourself around you, when you understand that like the fires is going to come, you just know how to fight them better, right? It's never this moment where the fires stop.
Yep, yep, yep.
You know what I
I
mean?
Yeah, yeah. I know when I talk to you, you'd be like, so many fires, so many fires. Always, as an entrepreneur, that's what the reality is. But you're working through them. You're working through them, right? One
Hmm.
of the nuggets that I got from you, as I push into my consulting business. I remember talking to you, and you were like, "Yeah, we." And this reminds me of the book Who Not How. I hadn't read it yet, but you would say, "Hey, listen, what we like to do is we like to get a couple consultants in the room, and I ask enough questions." And I get them talking, and then I figure out my lane to go. Right? Can you kind of walk me through some of that and pushing into a new industry that you haven't been in?
Yeah, I mean the one myth about the cannabis industry is that there was a lot of experience. There really wasn't, right? You had a lot of guys that had grown a plant or two, but not a lot of guys that had grown 1,700 plants at one time, right? It was a totally different deal, right? So, um, one thing we adopted early on is saying, like, how are we going to get through certain challenges or get to an answer? We got to invite more minds in the room, right? And um, once again, we ask enough questions and ask questions from different angles. I think that's the most important piece. You ask them from different angles. So you can get to an answer, and not just an answer, but something that's simple that then you can then go give to the team to execute. We've done that, and it served us well. We always the best growers. No, we wasn't, but we kept inviting people in, asking questions, putting our tweaks on it, and saying, okay, maybe we can't do it the way they said it, but this is our answer for that. And like I said, we've done it. We've done it over 8 years, where not only all of our product that we grow is spoken for and sold, but we have to go out to other farms to actually source from them, so we can hit our demand, because we've continued going back to the drawing board. It's that I think it's John C. Maxwell. If it ain't broke, break it. That book. That's what this cannabis is, man. This has been one big R&D project, an expensive one, but one that, at the end of the day, we put the processes in place to be successful.
No, most definitely. It's been impressive to kind of just see, um, not just the business grow, but the thought process behind growing in an industry that is pretty hazy, pretty cloudy, and figuring it out. So, I mean, how many people you guys currently employ now?
We're at 60.
You're at 60, and that's a nice size company, pretty big company.
We're a little bit small, just
Yeah,
a tad.
little bit small. Little bit small. All right.
Yeah.
So it takes time to work up to that. All right. Well, what would you say were, in growing your business, what would you say was your three biggest lessons learned in that in this particular endeavor?
I would say the first one is there are no experts. There are no experts. Many a time, you get down the road with somebody and realize that they didn't really know what they were saying, right? They just said they knew what they were saying, and you've got to deal with the cash you put out because of what they said, right? So I think that's number one. I think number two is not to panic. I think you have a lot of people in this business that, the market is not doing exactly what everybody thought it was. So there was a lot of panic, and there was a lot of rush to do certain things that really put you in a worse situation than it would have been if you just kind of rode the storm out a little bit. And I would say three is invest in the culture. Most importantly, invest in your people, invest in your culture. This is also an industry where, you're dealing with team members that they're figuring out too. So you got to have a level of grace there. And if you start doing things like, oh, you're just not good enough, you got to go, all you're going to do is get one other person that's going to come in and do the same thing. But now you've lost something there. You've lost the training you put in the other person and the goodwill you put towards the other person. And so we've really hung on to people. We've really promoted within. People that start off making $13 an hour are now running the whole thing, and we're proud of that we were able to birth that out of what we brought initially. So I would say those are the three things. Those are big three things for me.
That's great. I mean, those are some great nuggets. Obviously, Another area that we connected is, connecting on our faith, and I know that plays a big role in your leadership style, when, especially when you just describe your teammates and culture and stuff like that. So, how would you say your faith helps you be, the best leader possible for your organization?
Well, I think that's the big thing, right? Is that the other thing in this business that nobody has is a crystal ball, right? There's no data suggesting that things would operate a certain way. There's no real, other than the data that you have done over time. But there's no historic data when you're like, oh, this is the way this will happen, right? It's not real estate, for example. Real estate, okay, market goes down, we know eventually it'll come back up, right? So with this, we have to continue to step out on faith, and have to have faith that the things that we are doing are pushing us in the right direction, and faith that if there is a mistake, that or a challenge or opportunity that comes up, that we would be able to get through it. And my faith, on my board here, I got trust Jesus in big words, right? Everything under that is like my tasks I need to do. Because I just need to have that trust. I'm asking people to trust me, and I need to be able to lean on somebody, and that's who I lean on.
That's amazing. This kind of brings me to a area where I just think about, marriage and having this objective alignment, right? And when you are, equally yoked and you guys see the same vision, you could rely on the same thing to kind of propel and move you forward, right? It's not really subjective. And when you have a subjective perspective, almost anything goes. And and then when the panic comes, right, you have no idea what to rely on, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a good example of when panic does happen, or fire happen, or something like that you need to kind of redirect. You have that single source to be like, you know what? How would he do it? Oh, I saw that. Let's move this way. Let's pray on it, and let's move this way, based on based on the scripture. So, and I know that trickles into how you function and operate as as a husband, as a father, and as well. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. So the kids are getting big now. The kids are starting to get more and more active. I see your son now playing basketball now. What other activities you guys got going on at the house with the kids and stuff?
Yeah. So the oldest, Michaela, this is her second year doing AAU volleyball. Those tournaments, every month, there's a tournament away. We're going to Louisville this year, Orlando this year, went to Grand Rapids. It's something I was not expecting, right? Because Michaela's AAU is another $25,000-$30,000 a year.
Yeah,
volleyball, kids volleyball.
Yeah, exactly.
Between travel and food and all that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
nuts. But I tell you, it's so crazy to see. And I remember my dad when I was younger, he was saying, "Hey, if I got to charge the credit card to come see you play, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll figure it out." Man.
Yeah.
Not that we're at that point, but just to the point where like every dollar is worth it.
Yep, for sure.
See her out there and see like the young budding Michaela, and our son Robert, he's playing on 2 basketball teams. I laugh because he's just like me, another chubby kid that got hoop dreams.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, your hand gonna be in the dirt like
I know. just let me know when you're ready to put the hand in the dirt, right? Yeah, exactly. I got you. Yeah.
So I got a plan on 2 teams. So
exactly. As long as he's active, as long as his feet are working, that's what matters, right?
So we haven't found football yet, and I said, it chooses you at some point.
It does. Yeah, it does choose you.
So we're sitting back and just watching that, and then the baby is the one that we're kind of holding back a little bit because she's I mean, she's got the body type.
Yep.
She's got the energy.
Yep.
And she got 2 other sisters, so she's wise beyond her years.
Yeah, for sure.
She's going to be a lot of fun. So, but we can't handle volleyball, basketball,
and
you gotta get somebody on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. We've just thrown everything. We just put them in everything. Yeah, we don't care. But that's what they want, right? We're not choosing anything, anything for them. And this dude, Caden, he. Oh man, yeah, he's been biting at the bit to get out there, and he got out there last week for the first time and tore it up. He would not stand still, right?
Yeah.
He was just on his toes, bouncing around. It's just kind of fun to watch.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, very similar to you, we just want them to just learn your body, right? Just learn how to move, right? Yeah. And then later, when things get more serious, just have fun. You'll figure it out at some point. Whatever it's going to call you is going to call you. Yeah, So So how's the wife doing?
She's doing great.
Yeah,
she's doing great. Like we've been married for 14 years. To your point earlier, she is that rock, right? When things do get a little wavy, she's the one that snatches me. Hey, look around, look around. Gotta do that.
Yeah, exactly. No. It makes a difference.
Makes a difference, right? Where she's not on every opportunity. She just like steady like this. Like,
Yeah.
Come home with all kind of things stressing me out. She's like, so what we eating for dinner? Like,
yeah.
You have to be back.
Yeah, puts it into perspective, right?
You got to eat right now. Like, what you can't deal with that today. You got to worry about the unforeseen. You just got to rock with it. So It's been good, man. So we've learned a lot about ourselves during this time.
No, for sure. So before we go, I always ask this question. What is your best lessons learned from life and entrepreneurship? What would you say your best lessons learned from those two?
I would say from what I do as a father and what I do as far as managing our company, I would say the biggest thing is for me is to focus on being the leader.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's just the biggest thing. What both of those situations need is leadership.
Correct.
And the leader doesn't always have it right, but the leader will always fess up to when it's wrong. And the leader will always be the one that, go take the bullets when they need be. And that's what I've learned, right? So it's like I'm getting leadership at home, I'm getting leadership at work, and I feel like they're all kind of pushing me up together. So I think that's my biggest lesson learned, just focus on leadership.
No, absolutely, and they're drawing from you, right, as the leader, right. So that goes back to some of the things you mentioned about culture. That's just not culture at home. That's in business and in work, and then you're drawing, because you're submissive to to God, right, and that's where you're drawing from on taking the keys and the cues on how you need to move, right. So that definitely is a very big nugget. So just wanted to tell you, thank you, man. Thank you for blessing us. Thank you for dropping those nuggets. I'll be looking out for the kids, whenever some new videos drop. And the next time you're in Miami, hit me.
All right, bro. Blessings to you as well.
Yeah. Have a good day.
All right. Now talk to you.
Yeah.